Hey, my beauties, my wonderful people, a pleasant morning to you. So, I've been talking with some people, since the Don Anderson's poll, people would be talking to me and telling me what people are saying through the grapevine and what people are saying through the walls, what people are saying on the telephones to each other. I mean, you understand what I'm talking about as it relates to, the PNP edging the JLP, or the favorite right now, based on the 1,012 people who were interviewed, or respondents, that 39% said Mark Golding is a choice that they would vote for, and 30% said the Prime Minister, and 2.1 said a third party, and the remaining said they're not sure. And what some people have said to me, and you have people who are you call them, I wouldn't necessarily say maybe they're die-hearted, but people who lean towards the JLP, people who lead towards the PNP, and they have been saying something similar. So even the Jamaica Labour Party supporters have been saying that the Prime Minister, is not necessarily delegating things. He's taking over a lot of things that really should not necessarily be, it's not really under his portfolio. He should really be delegating some of these responsibilities to the MPs, the councillors, all the relevant people involved, and that because that is why they were given the position. Remember, their salaries were increased because they said that for them to offer premium service, they would need to get the the premium salaries. They got it, accepting the Prime Minister, but yet we're seeing the Prime Minister do everything. And what can happen to a man like that? It reminds me of the story of Moses, where Moses was taking on the burden of the people. Remember that he led, it's similar to the populace in Jamaica, not as many, maybe 1 million or less short of the 3 million that we have in Jamaica. He led about 2 million people, which is still quite a number of people. It's like leading a country nonetheless, because there are countries that are smaller than Jamaica. And he took on that, he became burdensome. It may have made him incensed, irate, maybe he was too flustered, frustrated, everything was going haywire. And God said, listen me now, I'm going to take some of your attitude, when it says your spirit, your attitude, your attributes, and we're going to put it on 70 people who he knows would do a good job. So you deal with they deal with the lesser or the least things, and you deal with the major things. But so what is happening to the Prime Minister? You see him going around the place, or going around the country, going around doing this, giving out houses, seeing that things are... No. He needs to delegate to the relevant people who can... Remember what the Bible said, God gave them some of Moses' spirit, because Moses had a compassionate heart, a compassionate spirit. He really wanted to effect change, transformation for the better. For 40 years God worked on him now, so he became the most meek man in the entire country, for example, right? And he was a strong man. Remember, he grew up in a palace. He knew what wealth was like, so he still had that inside of him. So God used all that, transformed all of that, made him into a better human being, but he became burdensome. So his father-in-law had to come and say, hold on about a minute, the boss man, take your time, hold on. You have to delegate. You're not the only human being on the planet. You're not the only one with a brain. You're not the only one with leadership skills. There are other people. And he humbled to his father-in-law, Jethro. He humbled himself and said, all right, okay, all right, I'm going to do that. And they chose the right people. Not friend and Kumbolo. They chose the right people, not misfits. Not people who go steal, rob, and kill and destroy, similar to what Lucifer is doing. No, people who mean well for the country. So that is what maybe the Prime Minister is not hearing some of the things that are going on. This is not a political ploy, They're saying that you're doing too much. I remember reading this book it's 2 different books by T.D. Jakes, but one of them the name of it is something like The Crushing. I don't have the book in front of me, or Being Crushed, but you get the essence of it. And sometimes God has to break us and bring us to a certain point for us to understand. And in that book, if it's not that book, it's another one, he talked about being busybody but not really effecting positive changes. So you can be all over the place and it seems as if but it really isn't effecting a holistic change, a wide cross section of change for the better. Because if you're all over the place and going here, there, morning, noon, and night, so to speak, and still the opposition is leading you, it tells a story that is like being a busybody as opposed to being busy, doing something effectual, fervent, lasting, and meaningful. You're still having groups complaining that things are not being done for them. So if it is that you have to be taking over the responsibilities of the MPs and the other politicians or relevant bodies, it therefore means that the monies that they were given increased. It was not, that should not have happened then. Because they said that they would have offered better service had they been given the kind of salaries. And yet, if you have to be taking on what they are to be doing, it therefore speaks to a problem. There is a root problem there. It means that either you don't trust them, or they're not doing it to, you know, that is satisfactory. Something is off. We don't know. But that is what has been said, you know, by people who are even Jamaica Labourite, you know, the Jamaica Labourite, Jamaica Labour Party supporters, ardent supporters. And they say if it continues like that, they're going to pull back and not vote for the JLP. And you do have PNP people who obviously they're going to, you know, subscribe to that. Anything to obviously oppose. You know, you can't blame them. They're not on the side of the JLP. So they're going to, you know, they're going to basically hit at the bricks. Say they're doing too much, Dr. Holness. You're taking over. The responsibilities need to be delegated effectively, efficiently, fervently, accurately, not with misfits, not with friends and cumbalo or relatives. People who can do the job. People who can do the job. Not because, somebody know that person from high school when you promise them. So, no. If you promise them from your pocket, from your own earning, you give them then. Not from taxpayers, from your own. If that is the case, if you feel like you need to do something for them, but you don't have to give them a post because you're rewarding them for something that you promised when they were in high school, prep school, in the belly, in the mother's womb. No. And that is a problem we are having in this country. We have misfit leaders, misfit workers. And it doesn't mean that they're done, even though some may be, but it means that they're just not right for there. I would not become a medical doctor because I would be a misfit. I can't manage those things. I don't have the grace for it. God didn't give me the grace for that. He didn't give me that attitude for it, that spirit for it. So I would not become a medical doctor. I would be grossed out. Just going in the hospitals and hearing the bawling, the throwing up, and seeing all of those things. I mean, I would pass out before I'd begin. I would pass out. And I wish that you get it. Because sometimes we don't realize that we're self-sabotaging our own selves. We're self-sabotaging our own selves. I'm not going to get up and say, like some people would get up and say, you have never ever done anything. That cannot be an accurate statement. So people who get up and say the Prime Minister has never ever, since he has been in Parliament, or not Parliament, since he has been the Prime Minister of Jamaica, from 2016. Because remember, there was a time when he was there for a couple months or a month or something. Not talking that time, although that does count. So, it does count. That he has never ever, there's not one thing you can pinpoint. That's not true. We see the building of the homes, the apartments and so on, and we see some of the roads being repaired and fixed and so forth. We see him giving back houses. So he has done things. Nobody can say, but we're talking about it affecting the masses. So you can do things, but it's like the man who sowed sparingly, so therefore he reaps sparingly. If you sow bountifully, you reap bountifully. The word of God can't be wrong, So we're talking about the effecting change to the masses and listening to those who say and taking sound advice. Taking sound advice. That's a problem with people today. Remember, David made a mistake with the census. That guy, was his Josiah, whatever his name was, started with a J. Said, sir, don't do it. It's going to cause problem. It's going to cause mayhem. And David allowed the enemy to trick him. And 70,000 people died. And God made him and get a punishment. The man that God was a man after God's own heart. People don't remember that story because he didn't take sound advice. You have to listen. You have to see what is going on and effect change for the man. That's how David dealt with the people, fairly and justly. Not just Solomon. He dealt with the people fairly and justly. Fairly and justly. So, sir, you have to pull back and delegate to the right people. Guys, you know what to do. Read TikTok and YouTube. Subscribe to my channels.